It's Listen In with KNN, the sports sound of the district. Today, we welcome a former standout from the football world. After a superb college career at the University of New Hampshire, in which he was an All-American tailback, he was selected by the Chicago Bears in the 5th round of the 1999 NFL Draft. In the Windy City, he emerged as a defensive specialist and a playmaker on special teams. His best season came in 2003 when he led the league in kickoff returns with a 29-yard average and 2 touchdowns. And in 2004, he was selected to represent the NFC in the Pro Bowl as a kick returner. In that game, he broke the record for return yardage with 228.
Azumah takes it at his own 10, back to the 20. Cutting left, gets to the 25. Azumah gets to the sidelines. Cuts back at the 40, now at midfield. Jerry Azumah might go. He's at the 30, 20, 15, 10, 5. Touchdown Bears. 89 yards. No flag.
And Jerry joins this live stream broadcast of Listen In with KNN right now with your host, Kelsey Nicole Nelson. It's Listen In with KNN, the sports sound of the district. We bring you the biggest guests, great analysis, and the hottest sports stories in the nation's capital and beyond. And we bring it to you live. Welcome to this live stream broadcast of Listen In with KNN. Here's your host, Kelsey Nicole Nelson.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another live stream edition of Listen In with KNN, presented by Fox Sports Radio, 96.9 FM and 1340 AM, with me, your host, Kelsey Nicole Nelson. Happy Saturday. I know we're all excited to get to college football, so I decided to bring in somebody pretty big from the college football ranks. He played professionally in the National Football League. We're going to talk the latest and greatest happening in football, his extraordinary career, and so much more. Basically, we're going to have fun, as we always do on this show. So without further ado, I would like to bring on my special guest. I don't want to waste any more time. He is none other than former Chicago Bears quarterback, Jerry Azumah. He's going to join me on this show starting right now. Jerry, how are you today? Can you hear me okay, Jerry? Oh, you're on mute. You don't want us to hear you. Now can we hear you? There we go. Now we can hear you. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good. I thought I scared you away. I was like, oh my gosh, she doesn't even want to talk to me now.
No, I got to tell you something. That intro was fantastic.
Thank you. I'm so happy you like it. Like, I can't take credit for it. That's all my team, but I appreciate it. I was going to say,
well, you have an excellent team.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I was like, I saw him jamming backstage. So I'm like, I'm doing something right. We have to set the tone, have to set the vibes, and welcome you properly to the DC area. Have you got a chance to come down to DC at all anytime lately? I know COVID has changed.
not lately, but probably about 5 years ago, I was down in that area and just really enjoyed my time.
That's good.
I was down there, yeah.
That's good. But we're not doing crazy political things. It's actually a great place to be. I promise everyone. It's a great place to be.
Well, that's a good thing.
Look, I need people to come. Matter of fact, they need to pay me for tourism. I think I'm hoping people to come back to the area. But Jerry, obviously 2020 has been unlike any other year. You know, COVID-19 has happened. We're still trying to, get over COVID-19. We know the vaccine is here. Some of us are still scared to take it. We don't know, right, if it's going to be effective. But all that to say, how have you kind of just been coping, right, with just your mental health and protecting your peace during this time?
Right. I mean, This past year has been very difficult. It's been difficult for everybody. It's a serious situation that's going on, that's sweeping the nation, that's basically just sweeping the globe. So, it's allowed me to spend a lot of time with my family. I have 2 kids, 2 little boys. Valentino's my youngest, he's 3, and Santiago's my oldest. He'll be 5 actually Christmas Eve. So just been spending a lot of time with them, spending a lot of time with my family, and just very really close and limited friends. So, it's a crazy situation that's going on in the world right now, but it's given me a lot of time to kind of enjoy the time with my family.
Yeah, that family time is so crucial and so vital, especially at that young age. 2 little boys,
right?
Crazy in the house, Jerry. Like, I know they probably want to go outside and the world. Like, how has that process been like for you?
I must admit, the little boys do drive me crazy. But they don't have a lot of activities that they normally have. Obviously due to COVID, but they still go to preschool. They see some of their family, so limited friends. So it's just kind of like that new normal, so to speak. But we're just trying to do the best that we can. Just try to keep them entertained as much as possible, and keep them close to the house
as much as you can.
Exactly.
So, are they going in person to preschool, or are they doing it virtually?
So they're in preschool currently right now.
Okay.
So they go in just a couple of times during the week, and it gives me a nice little break. But but when they come back, they're just full of energy and they're just ready to go. So
awesome.
They've been awesome.
Have they found a love of football yet, like their dad?
You know what? I don't even think that they've figured it out yet. Before COVID, we put them in several different sports and activities. They started swimming when they were about 4 months old. So that was very important to us, to just throw them in the water and get used to it. Yeah. And then we also put them in activities like soccer and baseball and tennis. So pretty much everything but football right now. But they're really enjoying their time with the activities that they have. Unfortunately, they're not doing it right now, but hopefully soon they'll be back to the normal.
Yes, all of us hopefully soon, right?
Yes, all of us, fingers crossed. Hopefully it happens very soon.
Yes, we're needing it. We're end of the year is coming. We don't want to start 2021 like this.
Exactly. We need to start it off really good. That's what we need to do.
We're speaking it into existence on the show.
Yes, definitely.
Give us credit for it, all right? It was Kelsey Nelson and Jerry Azumah that did that. And, I know you said swimming was really important for you to put them in. Is this because, did you learn to swim early too, or was it because you didn't learn how to swim that you wanted to make sure that your sons learned how to swim early?
When I was really young, I learned how to swim probably when I was about 4 or 5 years old. Mm-hmm. Never when I was a couple of months old, but I didn't grow up with pools readily available or, the ocean just close by. But it was just always something that we wanted to give to our kids. And my fiance, she was like, we gotta, we take a lot of trips. She in particular loves the beaches and things like that, going to the beach and being by the water, being by pools and things like that. So it was important for her to let these kids learn how to swim at a very early age. And it's just easier for them. It's just really natural for them at that early age. And if we can do it, then why not do it?
Exactly. Why not do it? I'm always count on a woman's perspective to get it right. She told you to do it, and now they're doing it.
Exactly.
Well, we touched on that. You touched on your background. Let's talk about your background, because as I understand it, at first you were into soccer, right? First, or wasn't your dad trying to push you into soccer?
So my parents were born and raised in Ghana, West Africa, and my father came over to the U.S. and landed in Oklahoma. Out of all places, yeah, because he knew that one guy from his town. So came over to Oklahoma in the 70s, and then eventually brought my family over. I have one older sister who was actually born in Ghana as well. So he was a big sports fan and loved soccer. So he just naturally said, I'm gonna give my kid a soccer ball. And this happened at an early age, around 5 or 6. And my father, rolled me a soccer ball and I picked it up and started hitting people. So he's like, we need to switch this ball up and possibly put a football in your hand. So the love of football just kind of happened being in a football town. All the kids in my area that I grew up with, they all played football, either football or baseball. But football was the number one sport. And then I just got into it and just kind of fell in love with it. So my early age of all my friends that lived in the area, they were really instrumental in pushing me to get into football. And I'm glad that they did, because I really enjoy it.
That's awesome. And let me ask you, the area that you grew up in, Oklahoma, was it pretty diverse?
Not really. I mean, I grew up in Del City, so there was some diversity there, but like I said, I was really small. And then after Oklahoma, we moved to Worcester, Massachusetts, just right outside of Boston. Wow. So yeah, it was two very different playing fields, so to speak, from Oklahoma to Boston, but really enjoyed my upbringing in my childhood.
That's awesome. Well, great memories, Oklahoma, Worcester. We're already getting the questions in for you, so we might as well talk about it. For Mike Patton, what was the most pivotal moment of your career?
The most pivotal moment in my career. Oh my goodness. I got to put my thinking cap on this one. When I got to the Chicago Bears, well, actually, let me back up. In college, I was a running back, right. And I've been a running back my whole life. And then when I got to the combine, there was a little buzz that possibly I could be moved over to play defensive back. Mm-hmm. And then I had like a couple of private tryouts in college. And a couple of teams in particular just worked me out as a defensive back. And I've never backpedaled a day in my life. I never had to. I was a running back. Right. And then when the draft day rolled around, the Chicago Bears picked me up in the 5th round, and they said that they wanted to, convert me to a defensive back. And I said, you know what? I've never done this before. But if you have confidence in drafting me, then I'm gonna give it my all and go out there and just try to perform and do the best that I can. And they were on board with it. I was on board with it. So I would say that was a very pivotal moment for me because, my whole mindset was geared towards running the football and being on offense. And then I had to completely erase that out of my mind and focus on defense, which is something that I've never done ever. Well, I did it in like high school, but that doesn't really count because I never backpedaled. But then, I'm going into the pros and I'm doing it against the best wide receivers, in the world. So that was an extreme pivotal moment for me where I had to, kind of dial in and get mentally and prepared and focused and just get ready for the rigors of the NFL and a new position change.
Yeah, I was going to wait to talk about your NFL career last, but since the people are asking for it, we'll give them what they want, Jerry. And I'm so glad you said that. You touched on how you had to cover wide receivers. I'm curious to know who was the best wide receiver that you think you had to cover during your career?
You know what? I get that question a lot. The NFL is just filled with some fantastic wide receivers. Yeah. In my playing career, I got to cover Jerry Rice, but you had Terrell Owens. You had Randy Moss, you have Steve Smith, you have Marvin Harrison. I mean, whoever your favorite wide receiver is the best receiver at that time. I mean, whoever I'm matched up with that Sunday is usually the best. And you find out very quickly why they're the best and why they're on that football field. So there are some guys that stand out. Randy Moss was in our division, so we had to see him twice. Yeah. And he was very difficult, to contain. Anyone in the NFL would say the exact same thing. So it's just a clutter of a lot of really good wide receivers. Steve Smith was actually a really dangerous wide receiver, Terrell Owens. So, the list just kind of goes on and on and on. There isn't one that just really stands out, but everyone possesses, some type of extraordinary talent, and you find out very quickly on the football field.
Yeah, you had to play during a hard era. We heard all those names. And I'll give you credit. You gave a very good political answer. Whoever is your wide receiver is the one that was hard to cover.
That's right.
Safe answer. And since we're talking about Randy Moss, you heard about what he just said, right, Jerry?
I read about it briefly, but I didn't just kind of dive in. But he said that he was the best wide receiver, I believe.
Yes, of all time. So people were
all times.
People were like, wait. What about our guy Jerry Rice? What about T.O.? He said, I'm on top of them. What do you think about that?
Well, I faced him twice a year, so I got to see him up close and personal, and the things that he did was spectacular. Mm-hmm. He's the ultimate wide receiver, and if he gets behind you, it just kind of turns into a track meet. So he's a gamer. Like when the lights come on, he's just ready to go and ready to ball. And they had Dante Culpepper at the time, and he could, he was a bigger quarterback, and he could basically throw the ball, really far downfield and really high. And Randy Moss was just a go-getter. He would just go and just attack the ball and usually come down with it. But that's always going to be a debate on who's the best, who's the best. But the wide receivers that I named, they all have spectacular talent. And they all put it together very well. But Randy Moss is definitely, top 3, I should say. So I'll give another political answer. Top three.
That's a safe one, and that's one I agree. And I mean, nobody wanted to get mossed, right? So you got to make sure, and that never happened.
I don't believe I ever got mossed, so I can say that about myself.
I don't think anyone on the show who's got mossed. We might have to just keep that tradition.
That's right.
Okay, that's good to know. Okay, we're going to continue your football career, but I do want to go back to University of New Hampshire because thanks to you, we're thinking of, I mean, let's be honest, I don't think a lot of us think about football, right, in University of New Hampshire. You kind of changed the game. And as I understand it, you went in undersized, right, to University of New Hampshire. But you worked and built enough the weight, right, to make sure that you could get to a point where you could.
So I came from a powerhouse high school football team. And we won states like every single year. So obviously I was a running back, but my coach at the time like really played like seniority. So he played the upperclassmen, and I was always just the younger guy. And we were always flooded with really good running backs that went on and did good things. Yeah. So when my senior year came up, that's when I actually got to start. So I was kind of like a late bloomer, so to speak, because a lot of people didn't know much about me, and a lot of people didn't really hear much about me because I just never really got that playing time until my senior year. And then I erupted on my senior year, and I started getting some attention in the East Coast from Division 1 AA schools, UNH in particular. Northeastern was really involved as well. So and a couple other schools in that time. So that was one of the main reasons why I actually went to UNH, was because I knew that they ran the football, very well. And I had an opportunity to start right away. So everything just kind of lined up for me the way that I wanted to. And I wasn't even thinking about the professional ranks at that time. I was just thinking about just going to a good school, continuing my education, first and foremost, getting a free education and having fun playing the sport that I love. So UNH was the perfect fit. Chip Kelly, you've heard that name. He was actually my running back coach at University of New Hampshire. So he was very instrumental in making me who the football player that I was back in the day. So I really enjoyed my time there.
Yeah, because I love that you touched on that. Because while we're on that, let's talk about just the most valuable lessons that you learned at University of New Hampshire. You talk about a 1 AA school, right? Again, those are the credit or recognition I think that they deserve. But what did you learn to kind of help prepare you for the next level in the National Football League?
Well, sports in general just kind of prepares you. I mean, you learn how to work with people. And I would say that's probably the most important thing, is just learning how to, communicate with people and work with people for a common goal. And sports just teaches that. And that was a very valuable lesson that I learned up at UNH. Our coaches always preach that like we need to, come together, and we need to figure out certain things and keep all the negative stuff outside the locker room, only focus on the positive things and work towards this common goal. Everything is a common goal. And that was one thing that they really preached to the team. And it helped me be successful today.
Yeah, and you also got so many records at university.
Yeah, I got a couple.
Does any one of those stand out the most to you, or any award?
So my senior year, I won the Walter Payton Award, and that was really special because growing up, my father watched 2 football teams. As he started to learn more about football in the NFL, he watched the Pittsburgh Steelers for whatever reason, and he was just really in love with Walter Payton with the Chicago Bears. So I wanted to be like Walter Payton. That's why I was a running back, all my life, and I just really loved his running style and his creativity and his work ethic, and he was just spectacular. So Walter Payton was just the guy for me. I mean, he made me want to, be a football player. And everything just kind of worked out from there. I mean, I won the Walter Payton Award my senior year, like I said, and that was just a really special award because, this is a guy that I looked up to, and I became really good friends with the family, wound up with the Chicago Bears as well. So it's just like a lot of different things that just kind of lined up that just felt good, and it just all really made sense.
Yeah, and I can just see the glow in your face, you talk about Walter Payton. And I have to ask you then, when you got that Walter Payton Award, what did your dad say? I know that had to be special.
My father was extremely happy. I just thinking about the moments when I became a Chicago Bear. I just remember running out the tunnel for the first time and seeing my father, and he was just like in shock. I mean, he understood football at that time, but just seeing his son just run out the tunnel playing for a team that he's always idolized and watched and I watched growing up. I mean, it was just a dream come true. It was spectacular moments.
Yeah, and you worked your way up to being a starting corner for the Chicago Bears. But take me back to the draft moment, right? Getting drafted 5th round, 1999 NFL draft, that class, 147th overall. What was that for you?
Obviously, I wanted to go number 1, but that didn't happen, unfortunately. Yeah. But like you said before, they were starting to like really dissect me, and they were saying, okay, well, he's a good running back, but does he have the size to be an every down back in the league? So I think that might have hurt me a little bit because I was a little undersized, but I made up for it. You know, when you turn on the tape, like, you know that I was always present, and I just thought that was something that would stand out. But I remember one situation where I went to BC's Pro Day. And they're like the biggest school, like in that area, the biggest 1A school in that area. So I went there for their pro day, and this guy comes over to me and he's like, "Hey, I want to take you through some DB drills." And I was like, "Okay." I've never done this before at the time, so I was like, I have no clue what I'm doing. I usually run forward. I've never run backwards, but you know, whatever you tell me to do, I'll do it, and we'll get this workout in. So he sent me through some drills and things like that. He shook my hand, and the guy's name was Phil Emery. So Phil Emery was a scout for the Chicago Bears, very instrumental in drafting me. And then at one point in time, he became the GM for the Chicago Bears. So it was very interesting how all these like little elements work together, and how they just come to fruition.
I would say life full circle, right?
Yeah, it came full circle. So obviously I wanted to be a running back because it was something that I was very comfortable doing. And I was, you know, I won the Walter Payton Award. So I thought I was pretty good. And clearly other people thought I was pretty good too. But they just thought that I would have a better career as a defensive back. So it was definitely a challenge. It was a change. But it was something that I was up for. And I knew that it wasn't going to be easy because I've never done this position before in my life, never backpedaled before in my life. But I knew that they had a lot of confidence in me, and I knew that I could do it as well. So, you know, with a lot of hard work, I eventually became the starter, and really just enjoyed my career. I mean, I played for the Chicago Bears and played for some tremendous defenses. And some tremendous coaches, and there's some really great players that I got to play with, you know, and it was just a dream come true.
Yeah,
it really was.
The messages are still coming in. He's got a ton of respect for you in the way you played. They didn't appreciate how good he is until playing your team. Then people don't like you. So they like you until you play the team. And then, of course, no more Jerry Azumah fans out there. But again, I just think your story is so incredible. And while you're talking about the change of positions, what advice would you have, you know, to those athletes that are being kind of put in that same situation, you know, want to be a pro like you,
right?
You know, being asked to change a position. Obviously, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work out, right? Like we've seen it a lot in the quarterback end where they turn into wide receivers, tight ends, whatever. But for you, what would the advice be to those athletes?
My advice would be just to continue to work hard. That's number one. If they tell you to basically to do something, you do have to like analyze it and be realistic with yourself. But if they're telling you to do something, chances are that they believe in your skill, they believe in your talent, they believe that you can actually do it, and they're willing to pay you to do it. You know what I mean? So I would say the first step that you would have to do is just mentally prepare yourself just for the rigors of the NFL in general. And then just staying really focused on your craft and learning and making sure that you're constantly learning. So those are the things that I really like held on to. And I was just constantly just asking for advice. Like I was always talking to the older guys, always talking to the coaches. I was always just seeking advice just so that I can get better.
I like that. Was there any specific mentors or any other veteran players that you'd like specifically give thanks to for just kind of helping you in your career and kind of, especially that rookie year, right? To your end of your year, like just help.
Right. So my first defensive back coach in the league was Vance Bedford from University of Michigan, and Vance coached me extremely hard, and I understood it. I didn't understand it at first, but later on I understood it because he had to get me ready, you know, to be a defensive back at this level. And I've never done it before. So everything was accelerated. Everything, like when I was right, I was right. When I was wrong, I was really wrong. When I was right, sometimes I was wrong. So the coaches coached me extremely hard, but there was a lot of value in those lessons that he taught me. And the main thing was that I just didn't quit. And he knew that I wouldn't quit, and he knew that I would continue to work hard. So he was very instrumental in me becoming the player and athlete that I was.
Yeah, very
with the Bears.
Very, very touching. Look, the questions keep coming in for you. You have a fan base, Jerry Azumah. Favorite stadium to play in?
Favorite stadium to play in? I'll tell you, first of all, let me start with with my least favorite stadiums.
Okay, let's do that. I warn you. I work for the football team, Jerry, so you can't say.
Okay, I won't say that. So my first game was against my first away game was against the Oakland Raiders.
Okay.
And at Oakland, they're not really that nice to to visiting teams. So I remember coming out the tunnel and then going near like the little crazy section that they have. Yeah. And they were just really nasty. And I was like, wow, like I can't believe that, I'm in a professional leagues, but everybody could be so nasty. So yeah. That stadium was just a tough stadium to play in because the crowd and the fans were just really there. And just overall, like I just wasn't really feeling like the baseball diamond, in the middle of the football field. Like it was one of those stadiums where they played the baseball and they played football, but they just never really converted like the field. So it was like grass and then it was like gravel. So like I just really didn't like that at all. The old like Philadelphia stadium was it wasn't really that great at all. But I must say, I really enjoyed playing at Lambeau. So yeah, Green Bay. I mean, it's an old stadium. It's well preserved. It's in the middle of nowhere. Yeah. And when you get on that field, you can really feel like the tradition and the history and the rivalry between the Bears. So it was a really fun stadium. And actually the people there are actually kind of nice, which is actually kind of odd, but they're pretty nice.
How were the Chicago Bears fans when others came into y'all stadium? They're pretty nice, Jerry.
Say that again.
They're pretty nice. Were the fans nice? Because I know you noticed the mean fans.
Yeah. I mean, you have your special fans, and they're going to give you the business, but it just comes with the territory. So you just can't even deal with those fans. You just kind of let them be. But overall, I mean, the experience is just really incredible. Playing at these incredible stadiums, playing in front of 75,000 people, a lot of Bear fans that travel well, that go and support you. I mean, just the whole experience of being in the NFL was just fantastic.
Yeah. And as you watch NFL games this year, I mean, has it settled into you yet that many of these games we're not watching with fans or much fewer fans? Do you think that's affecting the players on the field? I thought about it at first, and I was like, well, it's probably going to be weird being in a stadium and seeing no fans, but actually it doesn't bother me at all. I mean, when I was playing, I was always locked in. Mm-hmm. So I never really saw the fans, especially like when we were in the action. But like, once you make a big play or something like that and you go on the Jumbotron, I mean, you give the fans a show, and that's what it's about. That's what being a professional is all about. So that aspect was fun. But in terms of like right now with COVID and none of the fans that are around, it really doesn't affect me, or it really doesn't bother me. I talked to a couple of guys too to see that are playing currently to see if it affects them, and they're like, you know what, it doesn't affect us at all. I mean, it's still football. It's still, you still got to go in there and you still got to battle and play. So you're focused on your task and you're not really focused about anything else. So it doesn't really make a big difference. That's good. That's good to know. And I like that you've talked to current players now who are experiencing that. I know I
for sure.
Jerry, because you're a busy guy. Jerry's booked on a lot of show people. Like he's that guy basically. So we're glad. I do want to take a few more questions from fans before we wrap. Kelsey and Jerry, you think the Packers will win tonight? I'll let you go first.
The Packers, I mean, they're a strong team, and they're playing the Panthers, I believe. Yep. So I think they're going to get a big win against the Panthers. The Panthers just aren't really that good right now. And the Packers are rolling. I mean, Aaron Rodgers is one of the top quarterbacks in this league, and he's always going to galvanize his troops. And then the defense is actually coming alive too. They're playing extremely well. But back to offense, they have Adams. They have a lot of playmakers that can just get the ball, just get the job done. And they just execute so well. And that's what makes them very dangerous, is their execution and their leadership at the quarterback spot. If they can stay healthy, I think that they'll be, a top contender moving forward. But tonight, they're definitely going to get the W, and I think they're going to win big.
Yeah.
At home at Lambeau.
Yeah, in a night game. Oh, it's perfect.
In a night game, yeah. So it's just, I mean, it's. I think it's going to be a blowout.
It's going to be, this one. But I'm curious, as you talk about the Packers, it seems like you're believing in them. Do you think they'll be the team to represent the NFC and be heading?
Like, you just can't count the Packers out. They're just always tough. Like I said, it starts with the quarterback, savvy quarterback with Aaron Rodgers, and he just knows how to get the job done. So teams that face them, I mean, you have to be disruptive. You have to get in Aaron Rodgers' face, but they just seem to find a way to just pull it out. Last year was a prime example of that. They weren't supposed to be really that good, but they were just picking off teams left and right, and had a spectacular season. I think that they're going to continue this year. I mean, obviously I'm a Bears fan and I really don't care much for the Packers, but I'm just being realistic. I mean, they're a really solid team that can give teams the business. So I think that they're going to be a strong contender this year.
Yeah, I think they're definitely a team to watch. And you talked about being a Bears fan, which of course you have to be. It's only right. They've also got a big test coming up Sunday. Do you think they'll also get the win? Because we know the Bears need this win, right? They're trying to stay.
The Bears definitely need this win. They're playing the Vikings, and the Vikings they started the season off slow, and then they got better. The Bears started the season off fast, and then they got really bad. But the Bears have a lot of things to figure out, especially on the offensive side of the ball. Starting with the quarterback with Trubisky. So, Trubisky started, then he got put on the bench. They put in Foles. Foles got hurt. Now Trubisky's back in. So they've been doing the shuffle like crazy, trying to figure some things out. The offensive line has been doing the shuffle around as well. Yeah. And I think now they're starting to put some pieces together that actually work well together. Montgomery, the running back, if the Bears just keep on feeding him the ball and figure out that late in December and early into like January or whatever into the playoffs, you have to run the ball to be effective and efficient. And Montgomery proves that he can run the ball. We have Robinson, who's the number one wide receiver. So we have some playmakers on the offensive side, but we just have to be creative with getting them the ball and then protecting, our quarterback as well. So, the Bears have some things to do. I would say the biggest thing that they have to do is make adjustments after halftime, because after halftime, it just seems like the team just kind of tails off and they just kind of do their own thing and they just figure out ways to actually lose the game instead of win the game. And that's been like their downfall. They don't score a lot of points in the third quarter. I think leading up to last week's game, I think they scored a total of 7 points in the third quarter out of all of their games, which just isn't going to cut it. And it tells you that they don't really make good adjustments at halftime. So I think that's an area that they need to improve on. But getting back to the game, the Vikings are a tough team, and Dalvin Cook is he's cooking. He's cooking, and their defense it can be very disruptive, and they can play very solid. So the Bears are. I don't think that this is going to be an easy game. I do think that the Bears are going to win a close one. I think like 23-21. I think it's going to be a slugfest. But I think if the Bears stop Cook, then I think that they'll and allow the quarterback to throw the ball. I think that it's going to be a close game, and I think that the Bears have a good chance of victory.
That's good. Is it a game that you feel confident enough in, Jerry, to put money on it or anything? Are you?
Well, they are 6-7. The Bears are 6-7, and you just don't know what Bears team that you're going to get. Yeah. But I have confidence in them. It's a divisional game. It's a game that they have to win to keep their playoff hopes alive. So I just feel like they have everything going in the right direction. They're coming off a big win from last week, finally a win after dropping like several games, in a row. So I think that they'll continue it, and I think that that they'll be successful and they'll get the W in a hard-fought game for sure.
And speaking of the W, I can't let you go because we're a DMV-based show. I got to ask you about our Washington football team. Do you think they come out on top of the NFC East?
I do. Ron Rivera and what he's done with that organization and done with that team in a very limited amount of time has been tremendous with all of the pressures that have been going on with him. With Ron Rivera's health, the name change, the scandals, just a whole lot of situations to just kind of, decimate a football team. But the fact that they've put things together and they believed in themselves and they gone out there and they've been competitive, it's a testament to Ron Rivera and the organization as a whole. I think you guys even have a new GM or president.
Yeah.
Right. So all of those elements put together, I mean, there's been a lot of adversity with Washington, but they've overcome a lot. And I think that they keep this momentum going. And I think that they are going to come up on top. And it's going to be weird because I don't think that they'll have a winning record, but still come out on top. But that's just how it is. But yeah, they're a solid team. And, you know, I think this is a good stepping stone for years to come for the organization. Just seeing how they have come together with so much adversity and going out there and just being so competitive. I think that this team is on the right path for sure.
You just made all of our DC fans very happy. Of course, very close to. I'd love to get your thoughts on the Ravens. We just seen that Monday night miracle of a game that many of us I think are still in awe of. Do you think that the Ravens have a chance this year, Jerry?
They do. Last week when they played, or was it Monday Night Football when they played?
Yep.
Very hostile environment, but they went in there and they got the W.
Yeah.
And you know, they have a lot of playmakers on offense. Their defense can play. Their special teams is pretty good as well. Solid coaching. They have all the elements to be really, really great and actually be competitive and win a ring. They just have a couple of little key elements that they need to stay sharp on. And, you know, it's a toss up. Once you get into the playoffs, man, anything can really happen and teams can pick off a lot of people. I mean, you look at Tennessee last year, they were knocking off people left and right. I think they knocked the Ravens off or something like that, but yeah. So they have the pieces. I believe in Jackson and the team believes in Jackson. And when he gets on the football field, like the whole demeanor of the team just changes. So they believe in him. I think that they're going to go deep as long as they stay healthy. Jackson needs to start learning how to slide a little bit more, but get on the ground because once the playoff starts, you know, there's guys will come and hit you with bad intentions. And but I just think that he's an excellent quarterback. I think I like all the decisions that he's making. As long as they stay healthy, they have a chance to go to take it all this year.
Look, you've got a lot of friends in Baltimore now and in DC, Jerry.
You guys got a dilemma over there. I mean, you guys got really good, solid football teams and exciting players. You know, Chase Young for Washington. I mean, he is going to be an exciting player. I called him last year. I was like, this guy is he is a phenomenal player. I think that he's going to be a Hall of Fame type of player for you guys. I think that he's going to stay with you guys for a long time, and he's going to, you know, wreak havoc for Washington for a lot of years. But, you know, you look at Jackson, you look at Hollywood Brown for the Ravens. I mean, they just have a lot of talent, and it's just a lot of fun to watch. So, you know, I like this whole this running gun style of football that's being played right now. I love some of the defensive stands that are happening, minus all of the rule changes with the hitting and things like that with defensive players. But overall, it's just still really exciting. But in that Washington area, I mean, you guys have two really good teams and really exciting teams to watch. So it's going to be fun for years to come.
Yeah, look, something's in the water here. So we wanted to just keep running and keep momentum up. Before I let you go, finish the sentence for me, Jerry, okay?
Okay.
All right. The best cornerback in today's NFL is?
The best quarterback?
Yep. We're talking about your position, cornerback.
Oh, cornerback. The best cornerback. Oh my goodness, there's so many good ones. You know, I'm going to stay local. I'm going to stay Kyle Fuller. Okay. Very unpopular pick by some. I know I'm going to get some people saying whatever, but if you watch Kyle Fuller and you watch his technique and you watch the way that he plays, he's a really sharp guy. He's really evolved his game. He understands like what teams are trying to do to him, and he's covering the best wide receivers, and he's playing on a really, really solid defense when they're playing at a high level. You know, watching his technique and the way that he moves, like everything he does is pretty much textbook. And he has a lot of pass breakups, and, you know, the quarterbacks just kind of stay away from him. So I like technical guys, and Kyle is a very technical guy, and he makes a lot of plays. He doesn't make like the spectacular plays, you know, picks for touchdowns and things like that. And he has in his career, but he is just so fundamentally sound. and you don't ever have to worry about his side. So hopefully he makes me proud when he plays the Vikings tomorrow, and he doesn't make me eat my words. But he's one of my favorite players to watch because he's a local guy, and I like to watch the DBs, and I just really have my eye on him, and I just like his overall game. So I would have to say Kyle Fuller.
That's a good.
And he's a Pro Bowler. He's a Pro Bowler as well, and
something you did too.
And he's a good reason to be a Pro Bowler with the way that he plays.
Awesome, yeah. Jerry Azumah, I appreciate you so much for joining me here on Listening.
Thank you.
And before
Thank you. I had a lot of fun.
I'm glad. Any last words for the listening audience?
Go Bears. Obviously, I know that you guys are Washington and Ravens, but it's all about the Chicago Bears. So we need some more support. So get your Bear hats and your Bear jerseys, because we need to see all of that.
We do. Or you can just get Kyrie Irving to go through and get the sage out. All right, get the next out of Chicago. Or
that, for sure.
Either way it works. Jerry Azumah, thank you so much for joining me on the show. We'll have to have you back sometime soon. Yes, go Bears.
Yes, for sure. Go Bears. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Have a great one. Bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning into the special edition of Listen In with KNN. We'll be back next week on Saturday after Christmas. I need a break and to go holiday shopping and everything else. But I completely appreciate your support. Special thanks to my team for helping me get all my materials together. Also, check out our audio versions of the show. We have new podcasts out, iTunes, Google Play, and Spotify. And I hope to see you all next week. Enjoy college football today. Enjoy the NFL tomorrow. And I hope to see you next week. Bye, guys.
Follow Kelsey on social media at The Real K Nelson. Catch episodes of Listen In with KNN on YouTube, on air at AM 1340 and 96.9 FM Fox Sports Radio, on Facebook and Twitter, and online at KelseyNicoleNelson.com. Thank you for watching this live stream broadcast of Listen In with KNN.
You used to hear me on your airwaves or hear me on my hit podcast, but now I'm taking you to the screen. You'll love Elevator Thoughts. We will talk the latest trending in sports. It's game time. What better way to get to know those that visit the shows than over some good food and drink? It's time for confessions.